Thank you, Claire. Marcel Proust challenged us with the following. He said, the real act of discovery consists not in finding new lands, but in seeing with new eyes. This evening, even though I cannot see you in the audience with the lights here, I want to challenge you to come on a journey to see where we live with new eyes and to address what I believe is a very significant and persistent blind spot in human awareness, that unless we do address it and address it in real time, it will hurt us. When I ask most people where they're from, they will say, I'm from a town or a townland, in the county, in the province, in the country, and they'll think of a continent that they belong to. And if I asked you to visualize, with your eyes closed now, where you're from and what the planet you're from looks like, most audiences will likely identify the continent. They'll view the globe from the perspective of the continent that they're on. They'll be aware of the other continents. They'll be aware of where our diaspora are. And they'll have a general sense that it's a blue planet and there's something in between those land masses. But they will not be aware that over 70% of the surface of the planet we are on is actually that blue stuff. Human eyes are not equipped to see through that, to see into that, to see the land beneath it, to see its relevance to us in general consciousness. That's the blind spot I'm talking about. And why is that blind spot important to us? Every breath of air you take, over 1/2 of the oxygen in that breath of air you take has been made by microscopic plants in the surface layers of that blue part of the planet. Without that, the life support system of this planet will be seriously jeopardized. The water, without which life on this planet cannot exist. The food we rely on cannot be grown. Where is the reservoir of water for this planet? The reservoir is not in what we think of as a reservoir. It is not in the lakes. It is not in the groundwater that we drill to extract fresh water. It is not in the rivers. It is in the blue part of this planet. Over 97% of all of the water resources of this planet, the reservoir, are the oceans, the blue part of this planet. In the lifetime of Roseanne's son, we are going to have 50% more people sharing this planet with us than exists today in that short time frame. Already, the areas of this planet where most of those people are going to reside are already suffering water shortages to drink and water shortages to grow their food. With the impacts of climate change and the combined impacts of population growth, we know already that the areas that they will mostly live in will suffer greater pressures and greater strains. And if we think those communities and those parts of the world are angry with us in the West now, what's it going to be like when that materializes? That part of this planet is really important to mankind. Do we have a fit-for-purpose knowledge base to understand what's changing, how fast it's changing, to predict it, to deal with it? I argue right now we don't. Surely, you might say, with satellite technology, with all our engineering ingenuity, with all our science, we can't possibly not have that knowledge. Well, let me shake your complacency with 2 recent examples. And don't feel bad that you don't know those statistics. Ireland, for instance, is a country that has over 90% of our sovereign land beneath the Atlantic Ocean. Here was I, a PhD, a postdoc, working in research in the States, 30 years of age, come back to Ireland. Didn't know that. A proud product of the Irish education system. I didn't know that. So don't beat yourself up if you or your kids don't yet get that proportionality relationship. But let's go back to how we change the awareness and why it's important to us to change it. We saw recently a nuclear power plant in Japan nearly not wiped out by a bigger wave than it ever expected to get from an earthquake in a nation that's the most technologically in tune to that risk on this planet. in the Gulf of Mexico, a short while back, we saw an oil rig blow out. And what happened with the oil? The largest leakage of oil into the ocean. It did not behave as it was expected to behave, either by the federal government, by the companies involved, or any of the oceanographic models available to us today. The oil behaved completely unexpectedly. That's not a criticism. That is an acknowledgement that we don't yet have fit-for-purpose knowledge bases to manage what is an essential part of the life support system for us and for our followers on this planet. But yet, I believe we are now living through a period where that can be dramatically transformed within the next decade or two. With today's technologies, we can see with new eyes. We have the technology now to be in those areas of the ocean that are critically important, to be there in real time, to measure what needs to be measured, to understand why it is changing rapidly but unpredictably. With broadband technology, modern communications technology, with broadband cabled observatories in key parts of the ocean, combined with satellite, ship-based and moored systems of observation, there is currently a $1 billion plus initiative by the US National Science Foundation to create that knowledge. I am very optimistic that European policy shifts right now are moving in that direction. I am quite optimistic that Europe will replicate that type of effort. And I think that type of effort will be very important for a country like Ireland. Again, over 70%, 90%, I stand corrected, over 90% of our national territory is in the ocean. We have a very interesting industrial complex between food, ICT, biotech, pharma, that are highly relevant, and renewable energies that are highly relevant to ocean opportunities and technologies. By having the ability to be in the ocean, we can gather the knowledge that is needed to do what mankind needs to be done, but also to generate real economic, socioeconomic benefit for this country and others in doing so. As Marcel Proust challenged us, we now live at a time where we have to see with new eyes, deploy that technology, bridge that knowledge gap, protect the life support system of this planet and manage it. And Ireland has a big role to play in that. Thank you very much.